gentlemen, and welcome to Obscura, the show where we look at the best and worst horror has to offer. I'm your host, the Fear Fan, and thanks for tuning in. Say, while we're gearing up for Season 2, I thought it might be nice to take a moment to look at a film that I've been meaning to review for a while now. Also, it gives me an excuse to avoid reviewing the next film that I promised. Ugh. Anyway, a while back, director Matthew Lawrence got in touch with me and asked if I'd review his new film called Tide and Blood, which was going to be getting a release from Chemical Burn Pictures soon. Even though I didn't know much about the movie, I was still flattered, and Matthew was kind enough to send me a screener. Now, with that said, I pride myself on telling people what I really think, and just because I got something for free doesn't mean I'm going to give it a good review. So, was it a good idea to ask me to review this film, or would it have been better to leave sleeping dogs lie? There's only one way to know for sure, so let's tune in and find out. Our story begins as a man returns home to find that not only is his house deserted, but that some discourteous bastard has spilled delicious strawberry jam on the kitchen floor. Of course, all of that pales in comparison to what he finds upstairs. Let me guess, he just found where they dropped the grape jelly. Of course, we'll just have to use our imaginations for that horrifying sight, as it's now time for us to meet our protagonist, Robert Brandon, a talented medium who is legitimately able to contact the dead. Not that it matters to his boss, who has a somewhat unique view on the whole psychic business.
We are supposed to be helping people. We are not supposed to be using smoke and mirrors.
It's a business. We're supposed to be making money. I don't need you to use the gift all the time. Do you think people come here to talk to dead relatives? People they probably couldn't stand in life. They come in here so we can ease their minds.
Yeah, nobody wants to see a legitimate miracle when they can have easily debunked trickery. For shame, Robert. For shame. Of course, before we can learn more about how to screw ourselves over for fun and profit, the older guy from earlier, named George, arrives to reveal that, rather than finding spilled raspberry preserves, it was actually just the butchered remains of his family. Deciding that that's horrifying enough, he's decided to seek out Robert to help him exorcise the demonic force responsible. Happy to get the chance to actually use his psychic powers for once, Brandon gets a special dispensation from Boss Douchebag to take the case, and despite the fact that he doesn't think ghosts can hurt people, he finds it hard to stick to that position once he's actually in the house.
Thanks for meeting me here. I'm sorry I couldn't get here any earlier.
It's not a problem. Gives me a chance to prepare.
God, I hate this place.
Now that I'm here, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen that wallpaper? This place was clearly decorated by a serial killer. Interior decoration of the damned aside, it's time for the seance to begin in earnest, and it's here that we get our first look at Robert's summoning technique.
Troubled spirit, we ask that you commune with us and move among us. Troubled spirit, we ask that you commune with us and move among us. Troubled spirit, we ask that you commune with us and move among us. Troubled spirit.
Okay, that could get annoying fast, but still, it's not like he's going to have to keep it up for too long, right?
We ask that you commune with us, move among us. Troubled spirit, we ask that you...
Are we getting anywhere?
Jesus, no wonder dead people talk to him. They'll come back from the grave just to shut him up. Still, I wonder what's on his business card. Robert Brandon, I pester the dead. Anyway, after a few hours of that, Brandon's client is just as ready to strangle him as the viewer. Enticed by the prospect of seeing Robert get his ass kicked, the ghost of George's son finally shows up, and I've gotta say, he actually looks pretty good for a dead guy. So, he tells him about the early stages of the haunting, and when he reveals that their house was apparently being haunted by Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, Bob shows a little more than just a professional interest.
It was a woman.
Oh, I need to know more.
Whoa there! I know she's hot, but she's still a dead person. Although, judging by Dan Aykroyd's expression in Ghostbusters, ghost blowies are pretty awesome. I guess bustin' makes him feel good. Of course, it appears that Robert isn't the only creep out there, since Stuart's relationship with his sister is, well, let's just say that it's a little bit friendlier than I'd care to know about.
Continue.
Do you remember when we used to come up here with washing up bottles filled with water and play soldiers?
Yeah, you'd always sneak up on me and soak me.
We should do it again.
Don't you think we're a bit too old now? Well, It was fun. Maybe we could do it again. I think I'd be the one soaking you now.
Ew. Of course, it's not all creepy innuendo and incredibly awkward tickle fights, as our ghost decides to place a few crank calls to liven things up. Stuart tries to tell his mother who's responsible, but in the end, she reaches the same conclusion that the audience has.
Don't be so stupid, Stuart.
I hate to tell you this, lady, but I don't think he has much of a choice. Lack of brainpower notwithstanding, Stuart goes to bed only to find himself confronted by Robert's greatest fantasy, getting a little paranormal activity between the sheets. On the one hand, I find it incredibly creepy that he's technically fucking a dead person, but on the other hand, at least it isn't his sister. Of course, I suppose that Stuart must have somehow been worse in bed than the dead girl he was sleeping with, because the next day, she's cheesed off enough to melt his mother's eyes, which somehow kills her. I hate to tell you this, but you don't actually need psychic ghost powers to do that. All you need is a copy of this movie. So, with a corpse on their hands, the kids decide to treat their mother with the dignity and respect she deserves by tossing her swiftly moldering ass into a shallow grave less than 50 feet from the house without telling anyone. Although, to be fair to them, they only do that because they're worried that the police will find the body and accuse them of, I don't know, psychic ghost murdering her or something. Now, it may seem stupid to incriminate yourself by going on the run for a crime you didn't commit, but with that said, these two are operating completely without adult supervision. Oh, Stuart, I wonder what your mother would say if she was here.
Don't be so stupid, Stuart.
Actually, that just about covers it. So, before the two of them can make a run for it, the ghost strikes again, only instead of going for her eye-melting psychic ghost powers, she instead decides to use her toss-around-your-sock-drawer-while-you're-asleep powers. When Stuart is less than impressed by this, she just says fuck it and kills his sister to death in an indeterminate fashion. Realizing that staying in the house where a ghost has murdered two people might not be a good idea, Stuart tries to leave, only to find that all the doors are locked and that he is trapped inside. Alright, Stuart, you're the last man standing. Time to come up with a plan to get out of there. It'll take guile, cunning, and expert timing. All skills that you lack entirely, but I have faith in you. I'll just go ahead and play the clip already.
Don't be so stupid, Stuart.
Of course, Stuart eventually does come up with a plan. When the ghost tells him their plan is to trap him there forever, he decides to slit his wrists, which of course results in his spirit being trapped there forever.
I love it when a plan comes together.
Anyway, after explaining just how well that worked out for him, Stuart disappears. Although Stuart's dad is willing to call it quits, Robert calls bullshit on the kid's story and decides to give it another try. And you know what that means. Everybody say it with us now.
We ask that you commune with us and move among us. Troubled spirit.
Luckily, the ghosts in the house are just as sick of his bullshit as the living, and the ghost of Stuart's sister Tamsin quickly appears. Although according to her, her appearance might actually be a little bit misleading.
Do you believe in hell? Because I've been there. I literally mean hell. I'm a demon.
Jesus, and I thought their ghost special effects were cheap. You could at least hot glue some horns on her or something.
Hell. Mingle with people. Learn that what they fear. Learn that.
Touché. Hoping to figure out just how full of crap Stuart is, Robert asks her what happened. This of course means that the audience is treated, and I use that term very loosely, to a recap of all the previous scenes, although this time, things play out a little bit differently. This time, the tickle fight manages to somehow be even creepier, and it turns out that Tamsin is prone to extremely violent fantasies, which isn't all that surprising, since I'd probably be the same way if I was forced to live with Stuart. Of course, the really big changes in the story don't happen until the night when Stuart bangs the ghost. Great, so he was only imagining that he had sex with a dead girl when he was actually sleeping with his sister. Congratulations, movie, you've just found a way of making both incest and necrophilia creepier at the same time. So, having found a way of committing multiple crimes against nature at once, Tamsin reveals that their mother was in fact killed by supernatural forces, and by supernatural forces, I mean Stuart punching her head into the floor. Equally mundane are the deaths of Tamsin and Stuart himself, which come as a result of Stuart's refusal to live without his sister, girlfriend, abomination in the eyes of society. And so, with that out of the way, our story finally ends, and
I think we're hearing the truth.
Oh God, no, he's not starting again, is he? Would somebody please stop him?
Troubled spirit, we ask that you commune with us and move among us.
Well, that was fast. Who knows, maybe at this rate he'll only get halfway through the phrase next time. A man can dream, I guess. Well, as you've seen, this time it's Stuart and Tamsin's mother, and as we see the whole series of events for the third time, God help us, we finally get the full story devoid of lies and bullshit. Of course, strangely enough, that also has the effect of rendering their deaths even lamer. As it turns out, the Ghost's eye-melting powers are actually a can of the most powerful bug spray ever developed by man, and Tamsin helped to finish her mother off. Also, Tamsin was at least a little bit responsible for her own death.
Stuart, give me the knife.
Huh, this might be the only time in history when she was asking for it as a legitimate defense. From there, the Ghost determined that everything bad happened because George was an asshole, Robert goes to cash in his check, and the father is left to lament the fact that he basically just paid a man to spend several hours explaining to him that his entire family is dead because he's a jerk. Anyway, that's Tied in Blood, and despite not being what I expected from the cover, it's actually better than I thought it would be. Way back when I first decided to do this show, I put out an introduction episode. In that episode, I said that I wouldn't be reviewing any sci-fi originals or anything from the Asylum Studios. Subconsciously, I also extended that to micro-budget movies like this one. My reasoning was that most movies along those lines usually have flaws stemming from their low budgets, and it wouldn't really be fair of me to make fun of the fact that most of the cast and crew were lured onto the set with the promise of a free gift card to the steakhouse of their choice. With that said, I have to give Tied in Blood credit for avoiding most of its budgetary pitfalls with a script that makes the most of the locations available to the filmmakers and which minimizes the special effects required to tell the story. Like I said earlier though, this movie wasn't what I was expecting, and that's mostly due to the film's marketing. I mean, look at this cover. I have absolutely no idea what the hell that thing is, but I do know that it wasn't in the movie that I watched. Regardless of what the cover tries to make it look like, Tied in Blood, with its multiple takes on a single murder, has a lot more in common with Rashomon than with Poltergeist. Of course, this story structure runs the risk of becoming repetitive, but Tied in Blood avoids this pitfall by changing the scenes just enough to alter their meaning each time that you see them. In the end, Tied in Blood may not be what the cover promises, but it may still be worth a watch if you enjoy this sort of drama, or if you just want to see a micro-budget film that knows how to live within its means. Anyway, that's all we have time for this week. Tune in next time for the first episode of Season 2. Till then, this is the Fear Fan, signing out.
Strange in your neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Afraid of no ghosts. If you're seeing things running through your head, who can you call?